Hey everybody, Ramey here, and today we're going to talk about digital badges. Are you familiar with digital badges and the digital badge movement and micro-credentialing? This is a movement that really took off in after 2010, between 2010, 2012, it was hot topic. Everyone was like, MOOCs, badges. There's not going to be a such thing as a college in 2018. They're not going to exist. No one's going to be getting certificates or degrees or masters or undergrad degrees anymore. Everyone's going to be taking a MOOC and getting a badge. Here we are, 2019, getting into 2020, and the movement's kind of died off. But digital badges are still super, super popular. And one of the things I want to do, that I like to do, is I like to try to figure out what things are and where they fit in and how they're going to fit in, how they're going to work. For real. So you can see on the screen here behind me, there's lots of pictures of digital badges. So what is a digital badge? I did a little bit of research to try to figure out exactly what a digital badge is, so that I could tell you. And so I wanted to also see the difference, what is the difference between a badge and a certification and a degree, and where does this micro-credentialing badge thing really fit into the grand scheme of things? So let's take a look. First of all, here's some pictures of badges. The definition of a digital badge, let me just pull this up here. Digital badges, also known as e-badges, are a validated indicator of accomplishment, skill, quality, or interest that is earned in various learning environments. Okay, so I look at the definition. I'm kind of I could plug in the word certificate there. I could have plugged in the word degree there, master's degree. I could have plugged a bunch of things in there and also replaced digital badges. So what I wanted to know is, what is the real difference between a digital badge and a certificate or a degree? So then what I did is I decided to dig a little deeper, and I tried to look up, well, what is a certificate? And a certificate is a document serving as evidence of, that you've earned something, or a document attesting to the fact that a person's completed an educational course. Okay, well that sort of sounds like what they said when they're talking about badges too, but there still are some differences because, people aren't necessarily talking about badges as a certificate. They're saying that a badge is more well, I completed this one part of this course, I learned Photoshop or something. Okay, so I started to look a little deeper at some websites. I looked at edX. They're the big MOOC person that issues digital badges, to try to find out what the difference is from them. And here's what I found out from edX. Your course might be set up to issue certificates as evidence that you've successfully completed a course. Different types of certificates might be available for the courses you take. Okay, so that sounds right. You take a course, you might earn if you take a Photoshop course, you might get a certificate of completion or Photoshop or whatever. In addition, you might be able to earn badges for achievements, such as completing a course or a series of courses. Wait a second. So did edX, the people who are kind of one of the biggest MOOC and badge awarders, did they just describe certificates and badges as the exact same thing? Let's see. So they described a certificate, as something you get showing you successfully completed a course, or it might be available for a bunch of a series of courses or something. And then they described a badge as something you get for completing a course or a series of courses. Okay, so now I'm confused. I'm actually confused, because they're the ones who should be telling me this. Okay, so I look a little further. I found this site, Credible, and they try to describe the difference. And they say that a certificate is something that takes a long time. For example, a course that takes 40 or more hours to complete, that's when you get a certificate. And a badge is when a course only takes 2 hours to complete. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard, actually. I think what they're trying to, and I say it's weird because, you can get a certificate for all kinds of things, like a 2-hour course. So I thought that was a little strange, but I just thought it was weird that they're just kind of making up these numbers and saying this is when it's a badge, this is when it's a certificate. It seems like they're doing a lot to really try to make up a place where there's a difference. They say the digital badge is used when achievement is low stakes. For example, attending a conference, a badge for attending a conference. Okay. Well, that's a little weird too, because if it's low stakes, what do we want it for? How does that help me? So I started looking like, well, what do we want to use these badges for? And basically, like, here's an example here of a resume with badges on it. Like, they're showing us, like, you can use these credentials. Well, if they're low stakes, why am I putting it on my resume? Okay, so that's an odd thing. But, man, that takes up a lot of space on my resume. So how many of these am I going to have? Like, so I have a section on my resume that says skills. Is that what I would replace with badges? And I guess the question is, why not just write the skills? Because is the person looking at my resume going to know what each of these pictures mean? Or is it easier for me to just write, I know Adobe Photoshop, or have a badge that they need to figure out what it means, or a badge that somehow symbolizes Adobe Photoshop? That's a little confusing too, because the word is much better. I mean, yes, the image will look really nice, I guess, but it's not helpful when I'm looking at a resume. I mean, in fact, when I look at a resume, I want it to be as clear and concise as possible. Short, clear, concise, to the point where it's very simple and easy for me to find anything. Okay, so if someone sends me a digital resume, they can click on the badge and it'll lead me to a place like Open Badges that tells me who gave them the badge, what it's about. And that's great in theory, except I don't think the people that thought of that have ever actually looked at resumes. So when I used to sit on, when I was in corporate looking through resumes, sometimes we would get like 500 resumes for a job. There is no way I would be clicking on links in the resumes. In fact, I never even made it to the second page if they had 2 pages. Did they have the first run through was like education, experience, yes, no, maybe. Go through the maybes again. The people that were yeses, I started to look at their work experience. Those credentials, they already made it past my first phase of credentials. Yeah, they have the credentials. And now I care about what have they really done. So, and even sitting on like academic resumes as well, like, when I sit on a committee to hire a faculty member, like we might have well over 100 resumes, and a faculty resume is like 20 pages long. Last thing I'm doing is, again, clicking on a digital badge. So that, where they fit in is kind of strange. And then you get to the, you go to Open Badges and you see, well, who can issue these Open Badges? Anyone can issue them. I can issue them to you. And of course I have a Ph.D. and I teach in a program, so I could issue badges in my program, but no, random person X off the street that knows nothing about anything can issue badges to me, and I guess I can put them on my resume. It kind of reminds me of the skills and endorsements in LinkedIn. How many of you have ever used skills and endorsements in LinkedIn? So here's mine up on the screen here. You can see that 23 people have recommended me for blended learning. So here's the funny thing about these skills and endorsements on LinkedIn. I would say 3/4 of those skills and endorsements that people have recommended for me, I don't know who the person was. Like, it tells me, like, blah, 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 John Smith recommended you for adult education. I'm like, I don't know who that person is. We've never met. We've never talked. We've never exchanged an email. They're endorsing me on LinkedIn. Is that what the badge is? Like, anyone endorses everyone? So is that what the meaning comes from? So where is the meaning? So then I tried to look at like other places, like I'm at the MacArthur Foundation. And, the first article that I see is how to make micro-credentials matter. And I'm thinking, why are we trying to make this matter? It's either something we really, really need and it matters, or we're making it up. Because we're not trying how to make them matter. No. We create this stuff when it's needed. Where is the need? How does it fulfill that need? Like, there's a gap somewhere, and these are going to fill that gap and that's why they're going to be used. It's not like, well, there's no gap here, but let's just kind of see where these things fit onto these. It's like, no, it's never going to last if that's what it is. If we have to make it matter, it's not going to help. Especially in a place, because we're talking about a resume, put a badge, like something useful, that's supposed to be clean, concise, to the point. Okay, so what is the real difference? So, okay, so we get to this, and I come to, we're at the end here, and I say, well, what is the difference between, when I see a badge, do I think there's a difference between a badge and a certificate? I think a certificate is more formal and a badge is like more fun, maybe something a student earns in a class. I don't think they carry any weight. I think if we're going to assign weight to them, it's become a certificate. And so do I think badges hold any water? I mean, are we going to use them? Are they going anywhere? I really, really, really don't think that. So that's why the fads kind of died off in the last 5 years or so. But I really just, I can't see the difference between a badge and a certificate. I can't see an advantage. I mean, if I want to put links on my resume, keyword links, I still can't. That's just a link to it. I don't understand why all of a sudden a picture we're using this different word, and why we have to have all this research on something that's different that doesn't fill a gap anywhere. So maybe someone can explain that to me and show me the real difference between these two and where it's really being used. But when I see articles like on, significant, organization that significantly promotes badges telling me how they need to make these things matter, there's a big problem there. The article should be, here's the gap that badges are filling, that kind of thing. Here's the gap micro credentials fill. Because the problem is we already have degrees, and we filled that gap when we created things called certificates. I can take a half-day course and get a certificate in Adobe Photoshop or Dreamweaver or something. We've created that gap years and years and years ago. We're just trying to change the name of something, and I never really like that. I like to fill gaps, solve new problems, not solve problems that have been solved with the same solution. So thank you very much. Bye.